We have the fortune to have among us architect Palinda Kannangara as our guest of honor. We also have among us Honorable Chief Administrative Officer Shefali Bhujbal ma'am, Director, Architecture Bhal Chandra Savre sir, Principal Architect Krishna Rathi ma'am, and our very own faculty members, non-teaching staffs, and the students. We are equally glad to have the members of the fraternity. We thank you all to have taken the time out and to be a part of this event. I request our principal, Architect Krishna Rathi ma'am, to come forward and share a few words.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, sorry for the delay. I take this opportunity to welcome you all for our first award ceremony. I especially am very thankful to Palinda sir for giving us this opportunity to have him witness our awards and give us, the students, the fraternity, and the faculty, an opportunity to engage with his work and engage with a dialogue with him. This institute is one of the bigger MET family. MET has 3 campuses, one in Bangalore, one at Adgaon, and this is the newest of our campuses. And though it is smallest of the 3 campuses in terms of numbers, I think our trustees have the most affinity for it because of the kind of creative work that our students do here. The MET has around 10,000 students and 1,000 of a number of faculty and non-teaching staff of 2,000. And this makes this a big family, and we are a small unit of this family. Now that this particular school was established in 2017, and our first batch has graduated with flying colors, we are happy and we are satisfied that they are doing well. Just now, Bhagwat sir was telling me, and I just felt very proud that one of our students is working with him, and he said that your team has groomed him really nicely. So I think the whole, the compliment goes to the whole team and all the people who have been attached to the institute. Aslam sir, Ajay, Nitin sir, though they are not part of the faculty, I may be forgetting some names, but though they are not part of the faculty, they are very much part of the extended family that it is, and they keep contributing to us, our cause whenever it is possible. I would like more and more people from the fraternity to join us so that we can grow as a school and we can contribute to the profession by sending out students who are capable to practice, have a thought process, and then contribute to the profession. So thank you so much. This is a ceremony where we want to appreciate the best designs that that have been there for final year graduation projects, final year architectural design projects, and I congratulate the best design and academic work that has been produced, the students, all the 4 students who will be felicitated today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We will now proceed to short presentations of the graduation projects by the BDES students. First, I would like to call Dayani Lohkare from Interior Design.
Hello and good evening to one and all present here. Myself, Dayani Lohokare, a former student of this institute. I thank all the faculty members. I feel really honored to present my thesis project in front of you all. Starting from the research part, the environment of any space has a very close relationship with the human using the space. Along with increasing urbanization, humans tend to have a natural nostalgia for the green environment. What is landscape? So landscape is referred as any visible feature of any land. It can include man-made features such as structures, etc., as well as natural elements as vegetation, water bodies, etc. Studying about the elements which are characterized into vegetation, landforms, water bodies, pavement materials, etc. Any features of any landscape can be physically described by the visual qualities of qualities or elements of design, such as form, color of the plant, texture of the plant, and the scale and proportion of the greens. So hardscape and softscape are identified as two important parts of any landscape, and they are designed as per these elements. Moving on to the interior landscape, which is referred to any natural element that is introduced into the interiors, which can provide a richer and more complex compositions in the built environment. Benefits of introducing the green environment in an interior space can decrease in dust particles, increase productivity of the space of the people using the space, decrease in humidity of the space, as well as acoustics also. It is seen that whenever humans are around green spaces, they keep them calm and refreshed. Humans are able to manage moderate to and higher stress levels for a shorter period of time. People tend to respond to certain qualities of nature that encourage our psychological and build our cognitive performances. So plants have a different impact on our human mind. Conducting a survey in which 30 different people with 30 different profession and age group were marked in starting from 18 years. The survey results were listed and concluded that people enjoy being in open and free-flowing spaces rather than enclosed wall structures. This can help in boosting up their mood and relaxing the stress at considerable rate. Keeping in mind, while designing any landscape, the climatic data of the space, circulation patterns, noise factors, security requirements, spatial analysis, and maintenance was the key for my design. Application of okay. So these were the existing, I had done some case studies in which I studied about the existing interior landscaped projects that were the Apple office, the Amazon office, a small scale office in Ahmedabad, and Green Space Realtors in Nashik. And a comparative analysis of all the 4 projects was marked, and it helped me in designing my design. So coming towards the site analysis, in which I studied why I decided to do this site, and moving towards the last step of the project, that is the designing, from selection of the site to why I selected the particular site, which helped me justify my design and the aim of the project. So, Synergy Private Limited is a manufacturing company which is located in Mumbai, and it manufactures soft furnishings for the international market. This office existing, it is in an old mill, retrofitted in an old mill. It is in Lalbagh, Parel. It is one of the first industrial projects that converted to offices in a city fast changing. So why I selected this particular site was each year thousands of people move to Mumbai from rural areas. People think that they will have a better quality of life. However, cities such as Mumbai face lots of challenges, and the urbanization has resulted into lack of greens. So it is people tend to enjoy in. This was the SWOT analysis of the site, in which I studied about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dayani. Now I would like to call Bhushan Bhavsar from Product Design.
Okay. Hey, good day, sir. Good evening, all. Today we will be discussing the most favorite and most important part of our childhood, playgrounds. So most of the kids today are using the same playground equipments which their parents used to, and that's what inspired me for my topic, playground equipment design for children. Then talking about the benefits of play, the play is important for the development of social, then economical, educational as well as physical conditions of the kids. Also it helps to improve their cognitive skills, and playgrounds promotes the outdoor play which is as equally important, and the equipments like swings, slides and merry-go-rounds provide the varieties to kids like how they want to play on the playgrounds. Next, going towards the types of developments, the three major developments happen on the playground, which are psychological development, emotional development and cognitive development, which includes two major parts, sensory stimulation and motor stimulation. Again, talking about the types of play, the functional play, social play and pretend play. are the usually types of plays happen on the playgrounds. Then going next towards the types of playgrounds, the first one is adventure playground, which we see in the theme parks, which is made of telephone cable wire spools, then railroad ties, ropes, rocks and sands. Then the second one is contemporary playgrounds, which is often planned by the architects and landscape designers. But the disadvantage of these designs are the children's favorite large muscle activities are missing here. And the third one is traditional playgrounds, which see in every cities and towns. Digging deeper into the traditional types of equipments, the slide is most common equipment from the playgrounds. And going next toward the swings and climbers, which are the most interesting and most favorite amongst the kids. And talking about the multiplay structures and merry-go-rounds, the both are the most interesting structures from the playgrounds. Then talking about the design criteria for playground equipments, safety factor is much more important, like it included as heights of the equipment, the surfacing material which should be launched, not the hard surface like rocks and cements. And materials are often used are like wood, metal and polymers. Polymers are integrated with lots of materials to make it more visually brighter, creative and sturdy. And talking about accessibility, it should be integrated with the social, emotional, physical and intellectual properties of the play. And then it should also provide the good challenges to the physically disabled people and kids. Then children and their playground needs. The children today are far different from the children which were the decades ago. The today's kids are more into the video games and live streaming and all. Then here comes the another interesting part, field study. The Pramod Mahajan garden, which is located in the Gangapur Road, was my primary case study area, and where I studied almost 70 kids, and in which 25 of them were girls and 30 were boys. And the age group I divided into 4 parts was like 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6 years, 7 to 9 years and 10 to 12 years. Then while talking about the interaction of the children on the playground, the around 50% of kids interacted with others and 50% of them like to play alone or with their parents. Next, talking about the play period on the equipment, the slides and swings were often played for the time period of 0 to 5 minutes, and multiple equipments was played for the 5 to 10 minutes. And the behavior I saw on the ground were like gross motor skills, vocalization, pretending play, aggression, as well as noise and orienting. Next, to study the equipments much more into deeper, I tried to put them into the graphs where the measures was like safety, the ways of use, age group and the gender. And I got to know that the slide were the most common equipment which was used in a more random ways by almost all the age groups. Then these are the some random moments I captured on the playground while my case study, and you can see the kids are jumping from the running swings and climbing over the overhead ladders, trying to push down the seesaw by climbing upon it and hanging to the globe and duck. Then insights I got was like the structures like climbers and ropes which requires higher strength are often used by the age group of upper more than 6. And children and play, the seesaw and merry-go-rounds were the motion equipments which provided more joy to the kids, and duration of play was more differ upon the time period of the day and week, and almost 40% of their playing period was wasted in waiting in a line. And adult engagement was very in a contrast way, where some parents seemed to be quiet on the playgrounds and some of them were equally interacted with kids as them. And going next, I found out the conclusion that kids spent more time on the multiplay equipments, and then majority of kids perform random activities after getting bored of normal use. Then child never play in a single line. They always try to play in a flow patterns. Then I found out the areas where I can work was like minimizing the repetition, play in levels, making the single interesting structure for all age groups, and creating an constructive play. And we can also add secrets and surprises. So my design brief was to design a multidisciplinary playground equipment for the age group of 5 to 12 years old children, which gives them sense of joy, adventure, creativity, and productivity. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Starting from ideation, I started from ideating the steps, which was too boring for the slides. And here I took the inspiration from the DNA. Then going to the next, here I ideated a track and a runner, where the track of metal will be placed in a corner of the playgrounds, and the seat-shaped runner will manually pulled and pushed upon the undulation surface of the track. And here is the another form of merry-go-round called twist-around. It is a two-story merry-go-round. The more you will climb up, the more you will feel the tilted surface, but making sure the FRP textured surface and the metal pipes covered with the rubber cushions, it more safer for play. And the maximum speed for it will be around 25 RPM, which will make it proper to use. Then going next toward integrating the digital games into the actual playgrounds, I tried to one visual game to convert in a space, and which was like where you have to cross through the laser beams and complete the level, and same you will go through the fabric obstacles and you will get the reward of sliding down as your reward. Then going next toward, this is one of my favorite ideation, which is called a seesaw swing, where you will never have to find the same person of your weight to balance yourself. And once you are comfortable with it, and while it is in a motion, you can slightly turn the swing by simply applying a small force with your hands. Then the next ideation was disc dance, where the two discs were placed on another, and the one on the up is on the degrees of 15 degrees angle, and both of the discs are connected with the net, which will make it safe that no kids can go around it, inside it. And also there is a space to sit in the center of it, where you can place your small children and they can enjoy the ride too. Then this was my final ideation called Swing Mania. This I got the idea from surveying my classmates. So I asked them, So I asked them a question like, what you wish that you can see on the playgrounds, and they told me the more number of swings. And here I created the Swing Mania, which has number of 6 swings. Also the activity where here is you can bump 2 swings with each other, and providing the material like EPDM, and the springs will reduce the external forces applied on it. And now we will see the video of prototypes. एक मिनट का बस 1 minute. Yes.
It's not playing?
No.
Okay, that's fine. It's okay. We are done with
Yes,
it.
thanks.
You are done with it, you can come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhushan. I would now like to call Gaurav to say from Set Design.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Good evening, friends, and all teaching and non-teaching staff. My graduation project is basically related to cinema. We all of us and whole the Himiti family and both of us are love the cinema. Cinema is the only one thing we found the new interesting things. My thesis topic is the miniature set design technique used in a cinema. So as the architectural students and the professional, we know the miniature. So the basic aim and the purpose: select the storyline, and in that storyline select the plot and design the miniature sets. This was the some references of the miniature sets used in films. And alternatives of the miniature sets is the VFX, and CGI is currently working in cinema industry. Filmmaking models, the lots of the movies we saw, but we didn't recognize they use the miniature sets. Why they need the miniature sets? Because the lot of the things they can't shoot in a reality, or they can't build a overall 1:1 scale setup. So the replica is using the miniature sets. While researching on that topic, I was searching the who is the person who make the miniature for these films, and the very important thing in this miniature sets is the detailing. Detailing is the very important thing, because cinema always relate our work into the closely and detailing. So this was some miniature making companies, the history of the miniature sets, and the very important aspect to shoot the miniature sets or the cinema is the FPS, is the frame per second. They find the formula, and the actual scale is divided to the miniature scale, and then we got the actual answer of the miniature scale. So okay. So my topic was the one of the archaeologist is working on the Dwarka city, and he is go to research on Dwarka, and he found the Krishna's Dwarka city. So this was the basic storyline. This is the mood board, architectural references and environmental visuals, archaeological references, and the fantasy references. So I was trying to connect this topic to the fantasy. We saw the lots of the fantasized films, they use the lots of CGI and the VFX, but in the cinema pre-production and the post-production is the very important aspect. While researching on topic, is the history is the very important aspect. So I was saw the some old paintings and the civilization references. On references on the civilization references, so I have derived the main plan. So this was the concept sketches, this is the technical drawing, and this is the main plan of main structure. This is the drawings, this is the 3D model. Yeah, this is the digital storyboard, this is the final miniature model. And guys, I have this is the process photos of the miniature model. So I have made the one short video on the miniature model. Guys, miniature model is the we saw the green screen. Green screen always works in a pre-production. क्रोमा हटा के जब कोई चीज़ ऐड होती है तो वो हम सिनेमा थिएटर्स में देखते हैं. तो एक ट्राई किया था जिसमें पूरा क्रोमा निकाल के जो हम सिनेमा में देखेंगे. तो नेक्स्ट वीडियो वही है. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I now call upon Harshada Pathrabe, who has recently completed her bachelor's in architecture.
Hello everyone, myself Harshada Patrabe. I'm sorry for not presenting today, but it is a great pleasure to have Mr. Master Architect Palinda sir in front of us, and I would be glad to discuss my project at some other time in future. So first of all, I would like to say that it is a great honor for me to present in front of architect Palinda sir. So my thesis starts with the theory of contextualism and how this can be checked in a vast historical context. Context in architecture refers to the surrounding or the setting in which the building is placed. Every city has its own historical background and with its history of evolution and the built structure that shows the transition from one stage to another. Different approaches and strategies were discussed to respond to the immediate context and surrounding in an historical continuum. First one shows the indifference in which both exist but do not interact. Second one shows the reciprocity in which the materials are borrowed from the past. And third diagram shows the conflicting approach in which both are made to clash each other. These are some of the case studies that I have analyzed. The building makes a certain aspects of the region historical architecture, which is interpreted here in contemporary manner. So the question arises is why there is need to build an contemporary structure near the heritage, or how the contemporary structure is complementing the history. So thus the history of most of the building is process of metamorphosis in which every transformation alters our historical interpretation of those that becomes part of history. Each generation should represent its own time, its new layers and new ideas. Coming on to the context study, located in the state of Karnataka, Hampi is the living World Heritage Site resting on the banks of Tungabhadra River. The extraordinary environment of Hampi is a complex theatre featuring the seamless interplay between the natural, cultural and social components. Hampi was established as the seat of Vijayanagar in 14th century and was declared as the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986. Explaining the greater site at 236 square kilometer, and the sacred center is about 40 square kilometer. It covers about 10 guest house, that is Janata plot and the shops, and 140 shops, 47 houses and the ashram area and the Hampi Bazaar area with the temple complexes. After visiting Hampi, I observed that the most of the buildings are damaging the World Heritage Site, visually, physically and environmentally, by inappropriate placement and creating a disengagement between the dynamic interplay of landscape and the historic architecture. Government issued this irregulated development cleanup of Hampi Bazaar in 2012 and started demolishing many of the shops, and more than 300 inhabitants were forcibly evicted. This means that the guest house accommodations and tourism and the restaurants and viable income for many of the residents living will be lost until something is done. So my thesis aims for the contemporary building to be placed in an historic site to actively protect the ruins and not damaging them, and also argues that the new intervention can have its own identity and can be integrated within. According to UNESCO and ASI rule, there is a ban on construction within the 100 meters of the centrally protected monument. So the site selected is according to the criteria that it should not be out of the periphery of physical appearance, that the theory of contextualism cannot be checked. This is the visual and physical permeability mapping. This section illustrates the elevation of the site from the surrounding, and its altitude above the rest makes it a perfect site as the boulders around it provides the potential to hide out. The proposed program includes the Janata plot program, aiming to re-accommodate guest house, shops, and also the museum and exhibition space to interpret the historic narratives of Hampi. This graphic illustrates the architectural language and form making cannot be thought in isolation. So these are some of the graphical illustrations that I have taken into the design. The collage shows the understanding of existing context, that formation of axes, grid patterns, organization, framing the structures are taken into consideration while designing. Further, I started developing the idea, that is the organic formation of the placement of the structure in a cluster forms with strong visual connections that should be reflected into the design. So the fragmentation becomes the main concept in order to capture the visuals and also not placing a huge built mass. There are different site approaches which have been derived from the research experiments. First diagram shows the non-building approach where elevation makes it invisible, but the huge excavation can damage the landscape and boulders. Second diagram shows the elevated experience, having an panoramic views and the vistas elevated on the columns where the landscape is not disturbed, but the huge block will overpower the Hampi. And third diagram becomes the ideal approach where the building is placed in fragmented manner on a pin joint without disturbing the land, and also the learnings of the context has been integrated while having its own unique identity. These are some of the explorations showing how the structure can revolve around the boulder, or how it is becoming the part of the colonnades. The use of axial grids to determine the framework for design and also existing grid patterns formed due to the shifted colonnades has been taken into the planning. This is the main road leading to Virupaksha temple, and secondary road further dividing the design into two parts. So you can see the boulders are playing an important role in the formation while providing openings and the opportunities to frame heritage features from the site. Each volume is placed in such manner so that it is framing the mountain or the temples below, that you can see in blue marked. So zoning the site, keeping the localities at the edge, that is the orange one, the local shops, and the yellow ones is the exhibition space and museum area, and the blue ones and the purple ones are the semi-private and private, that is the dormitories at the end. While you enter the site, this is the first plaza, that one is the first plaza. where one can rest and take a pause, that is made for the relaxation and the tranquility in the space, that is the pool, with an exhibition and administration area besides. Going ahead, there is a museum connecting to the library, research studio, and the lower contours connecting to the amphitheater, which is the performing space. The importance of keeping the footprint to the minimum is crucial in order to protect the ruins and to minimize the impact on site. This is the first plaza. Pyramidal mass in this, incorporating the framed views through the balconies, framing the historic features. The verticality of the column acts as a framing element and draw the eyes upwards to boulders and beyond the landscape. This is the section through the museum and the cafeteria. The huge slab above gives an opportunity to watch the amazing skyscape of the Hampi. The design boulders connection from the landscape to the archaeological museum and how these steps leading down acts as a threshold between the architecture and the landscape. Thus, the contemporary design maintains its own unique identity while blending into historic landscape and also representing it strategically as another important chapter in ongoing history. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshada. It is our pleasure today to welcome architect Palinda. Though he hardly needs a formal introduction in the architecture fraternity, I'll proceed with a brief introduction. Architect Palinda has a background in mathematics and architecture. As a student, he trained under Sri Lankan architect Anura Ratnavibhushana, who had worked with Jeffrey Bawa for 16 years. He established his independent practice in the year 2005. Palinda Kannangara Architects is known for an experiential architecture that hinges on simplicity and connection with the natural environment. The firm's work has been recognized for contextual sensitivity, crafted material use, and a minimalism reflective of the Sri Lankan ethos. Their portfolio spans the breadth of Sri Lanka, from the dry zone to the wetlands to the coast, on a diverse palette of projects. The design and working process is always deeply connected to the site. Their projects exhibit a sense of connectedness to the context, region, climate, and landscape using locally available materials and technology to provide a rich spatial experience. The firm has been the recipient of several prestigious national and international awards. Their own studio at Rajgiriya is one of the winners of the RIBA International Awards for Excellence in Architecture in 2018, and they have most recently won the RIBA International Award for Excellence in 2021 for their project Artist Retreat, and the 5th Triennial Jeffrey Bawa Award for Excellence in Architecture in 2020 and 21 for their project The Frame Holiday Structure. The firm's work has been featured in the recent L. Crocus monograph 212. I would request our director, architect Bhalchandra Saure sir, to please come on stage to felicitate our guest, Palinda Kannangara. The Paithani shawl is a symbol of the rich textile tradition of Maharashtra. Please accept it as a token of our gratitude to you, sir. It has been woven very closely in here. I would request Palinda sir to please stay back on the stage and felicitate our graduating students who have excelled in academics. The Academic Excellence Award for Bachelor's in Design goes to Rutuja Savle from Set Design. I request her to come on stage.
The Academic Excellence Awards for BDES goes to Rutuja Savle from Set Design. In her absence, I request Gaurav Duse to collect it on her behalf. Gaurav? Thank you. The Best Graduation Project Award for BDES goes to the Best Graduation Project Award for BDES goes to Dayani Lokare. The Academic Excellence Award for B Arch goes to Jhalak Ubriani. In her absence, I request Bhushan Bhavsar to please collect. The Best Architectural Design Award, Design Project Award for B Arch goes to Harshada Patrave.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to take this opportunity to also announce that our college has won the Commendation Award by Intact for Old Nashik documentation this year. I would now request Palinda sir to please come on stage and begin with his presentation. Much awaited presentation. This is the one, right? Okay. Yeah. Start. Connect करा. तो लॅपटॉप कनेक्ट करा. स्क्रीनला हा लॅपटॉप स्क्रीनला कनेक्ट करा. स्टेजचे लाईट्स ऑफ करा.
invited me here. Actually, it was an honor to be a part of the first cycle of the jury of MET College. It is a wonderful college, and actually, I would like to really thank the students and again their work that it really impressed me, and especially their see a very difference between the other college and this. It has a really, and I can see everybody wants to hear the story, want to be a part of the today's event, because most of the colleges I've been, it's not going to be criticizing any colleges, but in this college I've seen everybody here, not around and trying to be busy with other involvements and all that, because I feel there's big difference between your work represent that, because the discipline is very important in architecture. So I won't take that much of work time, because I thought of it's already late. So I just want to take you a few of my work, then I can try to work, try to explain about how I proceed with the design, and maybe it's good for more like a student's ideas, like I've been working last 17 years. So I'm trying to explain few of my projects that I've thought it may be highlighted with today's event. I'm going to start to give you a little bit of background where I come from and how I'm practicing, because the scale of the country is as island is very important, and as we were discussing there, so it is come from the site and the place and the time. So this is the island, it's Sri Lanka, as you know. It's a 64,000 square kilometers, and the population about 22 million, and with the heavy monsoon in two seasons, and with a beautiful landscape, with the biodiversity, great biodiversity, from coastal to hill country and different climate zones. So I'm just trying to is it a feedback or? Yeah, just anyway, some of the examples that is from the ancient architectural monument, I was thinking it may relevant to talk about this kind of a discipline, how it is happened to the contemporary architecture, because this work is one of the older temple structures, like the monastic temples and then the monastic landscape are the key elements in architecture in Sri Lanka. So if you see these kind of work, so it gives you really good understanding about how we respect or relate to the landscape, and the architecture and the landscape is almost part and parcel of each other, and it becomes complement each other, and then we trying to respect it. So these are some of the examples. So I'm not going to give you details, but trying to give you a little bit of background how the man-made structure merge with the landscape, and the landscape celebrate in a very small footprint and pavilions. So those are the things that I'm really interested, how we can build less, but still we can enjoy the vast landscape. So that was the idea, and these are the monastic landscape, walking meditation pathways, journey, steps, and then the water. It's always there with the Sri Lankan architectural elements or example. So material wise, and this is some of the reticula, the monastic, all the temple structures, and but still it remains the same quality of elements like structures, and built out of stone in a different period, and some period it starts building of timber. And this is a Sigiri, everybody knows, it's like a landscape, citadel. The journey towards the capital changes with the different landscape zone, from the soft landscape areas to the built with the stones, and the steps journey again, going through these gaps. And trying to give you like 15th century, these are like a beautiful structures by the side of the road that they built for resting places. So it's a multi-structural, multi-purpose kind of element. So the idea behind this one I was just showing is how they have understand the concept of how to use the timber without touching the ground to prevent from the ants and the termites damages. So that gives me idea how do you have to use the material when it comes to what is available, but still it has to be long lasting. So this pavilion is beautiful, how it's totally open out, and even ledges allow you to sit or have a meal and to have a chat. So that gives you a little bit of understanding about how the Sri Lankan example during this time has evolved. And then it started from the Jeffrey Baba era, and then the next generation of our kind of contemporary architects are continue working with the similar. And during these 17 years, I was trying to manage to work with the different contexts, different architectural languages, that is works with the environment. So that is the that you can understand the timeline of my work. So from the first project to the last project. So give you a little bit of a background how I start my career. So I have finished my studies in 2004, and then I moved to a small place in a small annex of my sisters, and then slowly developed that space into an office, and then my living space within that space. So move on with the projects continuing, and this was my first room I started to practice. But before that, like 2 years, it was without any office. It was only my desk, that white area. Hello? Okay. So this gives you just a white table in the middle. That was my first table where I start sketching and doing my work, and then slowly acquired another room and moved to that room. So this was my team, and that time, and slowly improved, making the this up to this level. This was the next office that I moved after 10 years. In 2015, I moved to this office, but you can see still we were working with the models. So these are all the models, even some are all maybe 50% built and ongoing projects, and some are not built, but still same kind of way of working. So we have 8 computers, but not always full with that. But we'll work very closely with the team. It's a one room, and very relaxed, or we'll talk architecture and spend more time the designing. And I'm going to start the presentation with my first project. So this is immediately as soon as I got my graduations. So I had a chance to design a project from my university that I studied mathematics. So he asked me to design a powerhouse for him. So why I'm trying to show you with this, it's with the starting what you want to do, and again, if you are lucky, and you might get a chance to design what you want to design. So this opportunity is to design a more like a technical project. It's like a powerhouse, and it has a lot of detail that technical you have to understand more than aesthetic. But I had a privilege to design it like a house and not like a contemporary any shed of turbine. But we gave that input with the architecture, and so it works with that. And then the project that I'm trying to show you is a part of the main the building. So we're trying to work for an accommodation facility for the engineers who are going from Colombo, because this area is quite a distance from Colombo. There was no facility available in this area to give the accommodation. So basically, it was actually combining. It is actually a very small footprint. As you can see the contours. So we have given a task to design somewhere we can build economically. So the idea is very simple. What we were trying to do is a few blocks with the functions of the accommodation and the caretaker place in around the contours. So that is a very simple logic that we can
understand any person who would be placed. But each box has a different function. And in the center, we want to create like a forecourt where you enter and then you start seeing the glimpse of the views of the valley. So that was the idea. So as you can see, the design developed within that time, and then we extend the building towards the valley. That is an afterthought, or maybe while we are making the building, we need to have more facilities. So we extend the building beyond that pool area. So the concept-wise, as I said, the mood that I want to create is just to create a very linear building that is not stands out or not disturb the nature. So the stone that is from the available material in that area. So we'll create like a roof that is camouflaged within the grass field. And this is like in a tea estate. So what I would like to do is, as you are coming to the center area, you are not seeing the view of the valley. So I want to give the experience that the user comes getting through the space from the main door, you really get the wow feeling. So that's how we want to create it. And that's the model that we were trying to work with the design. And these ongoing construction photos. And that's how it is set with the context and overlooking that river, but you can't see it from the building. But if you can see that when you drive in towards that, you still not discover the beauty beyond that. So the building itself screens the view, and then slowly you taking through the space, and then you try to explore the views beyond you. So that's the small idea that I want to create, and then it continues with the materials and the solution or finding ways of doing it. So this foam, it naturally came with the shape of the property, and then we connect with the water to the blocks of bedrooms, and that becomes the design. And then we want to create a space that you can go beyond the building limits with that cantilever structure, that you can experience the woods or a valley feeling. So the building material, we were trying to work with the easy maintenance, because there's no such lot of people, staff maintain this. So that's how we end up with this titanium walls, cut polished cement, less maintenance material. So these are recent photograph for this book, but it's remain the same quality or a standard. And this was my start, or a recognized project or first project. Then it gives you a really good that confidence for you. So when you are doing something and you get a recognition and awards or something, it's really important as a young architect. So I received that. So I knew that my path is correct. So that's why I'm always telling students, you need to continue and submitting your projects and get reviews, and even if you're not winner, it's fine. You need to apply for all these things. And still I'm doing it, because still I want to judge myself where I'm positioning, whether I'm doing the right thing or not. So then I'm going to talk about my studio after 10 years. And we were trying to use a better space or a location closer to Colombo, but affordable space. And they found this abandoned land near a marsh. And nobody has seen the beauty of it, and it was neglected and not a expensive property. So very small footprint within that area. Maybe you can find in the far corner, that's a building. And this is how it's crowded and full of apartment around. But still that serenity and the landscape is so beautiful. I wanted to build there and move in. So, but there were some issues with the overflowing the water from the canal to the garden areas, like a few occasions with the last experience from the neighbors. So what we want to do is like a base in the studio and the accommodation within the rooms within that space. But to overcome the situation, the floods, what we realized is we need to lift the foundation 2 feet. So, but I didn't want to lift the foundation, because I just thought any given time the water has to flow through the space. So then we are disturbing the natural, the flowing areas. So we did is we lift the building, allow the landscape to be there to be as it is. So then we are not disturbing the content. So that is very easy solution. Then we were trying to work with the views and then the sun path and then the east sun we have to block. So we create the building, it's like a fortification, like a fortress, so that it can be blocked the, all the three sides and focus one towards, and then it can cut down the heat as well as the noise from the surrounding, because it's surrounded with the very neighboring and there's a road next to it. So this is a key thing that I was just looking at how to solve these issues. So basically we are trying to address the situation to overcome the the climatical and environmental solutions. Then it's naturally it came with the idea how we need to have a design. So I left the ground level for parking and the other services. In any case, you can remove the vehicle. There was no any serious issues with the water, and leave my first floor for the office area. So it's very simple. And again, I have designed with the grid because we need to have piles for that. So if you see that, it's like almost like a grid design, but in a way that we're trying to avoid not to look like a typical grid plan. So this is the next level with the accommodation and my living space. It's a multi-purpose area, so it becomes my meeting rooms when I have the bigger meetings. So there's no any proper meeting rooms or office space. So then the next level is the rooftop entertainment area. So this gives you a proper cross-section between the landscape and the built environment. You can see everything is built on the first floor, and the rest is we left it for natural form. So this is some of the models we were working on, and this is a real model or a building. So you can see how we were trying to focus the frame, the view, and this is not what we have seen in the first photo, because after you frame it only, you're trying to see the through that space and view that beauty beyond that land. Otherwise, we are just ignoring that frame. So when you're going further, you're trying to see more closer detail of the landscape. And these stones, we've been trying to maximize the all reclaimed stones from these estates, and even the doors we were trying to use reclaimed wood for this, doors and windows. Most of the materials are all sustainable in a way that we don't want to do it like that, but we're trying to minimize the usage of the material, new material, and paint unpainted walls, just let it like that. And that's a journey you start from the road. So I wanted to make it like going to a temple, that feeling that it changed your mindset. When the clients come from the busy roads and they park there and they start walking to the office through these steps and end up with the flow there with a different texture, so that change in the material gives you really mindset is changing your mindset. And then the volume change start changing. So this volume with the lower height, like 8 feet, 8.5, and then move into a double height space. That's the where you need to stop and focus your, trying to meet me, and you're ready to meet in the good mindset. So that is the idea. It's actually happening. So people change their mindset, and when you come here, you can't remember anything because you only focus with the landscape and the volume, and then you are in a different mindset. So, and the material, we try to work with the concrete because it was a expand. We want to get quite a wide span here. So most of the columns are really thick. So we're trying to work with the same material as some of them are structural, some of them are very thin, 4 inches, but concrete. And then we insulate the building with another brick layer. So it gives a really good thermal insulation. It's not just we want to have a concrete and we just expose to concrete. Concrete is insulated with another sound barrier or the heat barrier, like the insulation with the brick, and then the 4-inch air gap. So the air gaps is allow me to take all my services through, and nobody can see all my ducts and all that. That's within that, the 4-inch gap. So this is the next level. So this is where the my dining table and the meeting room, and then you can see how these the west facade gives that the punch, and the dramatic light comes through that, and the small openings allow that wind to flow through there. And the vertical louvers that is I have designed in a way, those are not meant for vertical, but I've taken a chance and did it in a vertical way that allows to control the rain, but at the same time it's open to get more ventilation through that gap. So these open spaces connect the bedroom next to the living area. So that has another frame view, and that connects another open washroom, and it gives you quite a cross ventilation through that space. So that helps me to create more comfortable living there, because we are not using air condition in any common spaces. So from that staircase spiral, it leads to the rooftop area where you have your entertainment, where my entertainment. So basically this is also another living space. So it cut off from all the moods that is like working environment. So that connects with the landscape beyond the balcony area. So now we start getting more and more plants. It becomes more wilder, and it connects the neighboring site or the neighbor's green into this area. So there's no boundary to our building now anymore, because it totally connects with the landscape. So it gives you really quite a vast space. Otherwise, the footprint is 40 by 80. So it's very small footprint, but still it looks big. So the next project is a totally designed for a very low budget and for a lifestyle of an artist. My client is an artist, and the both of them are artists, and they want to build a house, affordable house, and they were worried that they can engage me for this project. But I was very confident that they can build it, because he has enough time to involve with the project. Then I'm trying to design what they have comfortable, and they might enjoy the material. So I said there are things that you need to flexible with the idea. So what I want to do is I wanted to create a buffer, because this is next to a highway from a distance. But then again, how to cut down the cost, how they can find the material. So I don't want to make it like a cut and filling. So I have designed the building to be in 2 levels, and the first floor level dedicated only for their bedroom. So that's the cross section. You can understand the topography. So I utilized the levels that is from the side to give the higher for the living area, and they have the same volume for the different volume in the dining area where they have a commissions. So basically that helps me to create some different volumes within the space. And then we created gaps in between the walls, that you can get the privacy, but at the same time you're trying to get the air movement through these gaps. So it trying to create an oasis within the space, and it's almost like a garden pavilion I'm trying to create without any windows at the lower level. So as you're coming from the main road or a private road towards the site, you only see this kind of facade. So once you open out, you're trying to explore little and more garden space, and there's no any doors and windows within the ground level. So the ground level almost like a pavilion within the courtyard. So all this series of courtyard connects and gives you enough ventilation, enough visual connection to the family, and that helps me to feel like them in a bigger space. So the material is just left it unplastered, and to cut down the cost has also give a little bit of character, and then there's a inside-outside connection more, and then you don't feel that where you are staying, whether you are in the inside or the outside. So that was the key to the design. And even the landscape, you may have noticed, we only use these available landscape around the site or the local plants. Varuna Shashidhar designed the landscape for me. So even everything, we're trying to use the furniture from the reuse. That table, if you have noticed, that is from a bakery. It was just like antique piece or a very cheap price. Most of the furniture is like a second-hand ones. That's the lower part with the higher volume, and that's where the artist paint his stuff. So that you can understand how big volume is need for him to draw, and he was so happy with this space. And the upper level, we're trying to treat it in a different way, that family can have a safety, and then every room has a doors and windows. They can lock here. From the staircase, they have a grill to lock. So then the family is secure within this upper level. And a smooth plaster we have given, no maintenance, you don't need to paint, but it's not the same texture that is there at the lower level. And we were trying to work with the whatever available timber, and ultimately it became the art. So we want to use whatever is from the available, that is not specified wood. So those are the things how we're trying to cut down the cost to bring it the house. So then the next project is quite a different from what I have shown. This is a project that is finished recently in a 50-acre rubber estate. You can see it was very big land property, and recently they have removed the rubber here, and they have found the view was stunning, and then they realized they can improve the tourism here, because they had a bungalow. They are having that bungalow. It's a very old colonial bungalow, and they operated like a guest house, but it's only had a 4-bedroom. So then they want to improve further, and they asked me can we design something here? But the project is very sensible, because you can see a lot of boulders, and then you can't have a heavy foundation. So as soon as I go there, I have realized that foundation has to start from the lower. So then we're trying to minimize the footprint by having 2 layers, and then we're trying to have the set within this whatever the land available, and anchor the foundation and make a very slender columns coming up. So that was the idea, to minimize. So this is the existing bungalow at the upper level, and it's very 1880 colonial bungalow. It was beautifully maintained, so it still is functioning as a part of the hotel. So it goes as a Glenrose living. So then I designed the 7 villas along that existing pathway, and keeping the lower than the higher the bungalow. So the bungalow won't get disturbed with this villas. So that was the idea. So this is that first one is that the road level you enter to the bedroom level and the washroom, and then you go down to the pool level, and then there's a private living at the lowest corner. So basically very simple design, and trying to sit within the terrain. And this is how the buildings looks from a distance, and slowly start anchoring to the ground with the pool area. And the building has a lot of glass facade facing the view, but most of them are openable louvers, and very lightweight structures. We trying to use the panel board to reduce the self weight. And the end of the day, it becomes the view and focus towards the valley, and it's very touch light building, and the views are stunning from there, and architecture is not heavy on your eyes, but the luxury is there with the material that I've used, because this is for a purpose of selling luxury resort. This is the lower level living, and that's the pool at the lower level. That's in the sunset. So this project, I think this is the Frame Imadua. This is 100 kilometers away from Colombo. It's in the down south. And this property is really sensitive, I can say. It was like a 5-acre, quite a big property, and it was from ancestral land. This was my client's, the family heritage, like lived there close by, and they own this property, and it was abandoned for last centuries because of it floods. Because this property is close to Singaraja rainforest, and this is surrounded by a creek. And any given time, even in a sunny day, sometimes the water comes over the land. So no plants can grow unless it just except these weeds and the grasses. So it was there for a long time. So client want me to do something but overcome this flood situation. So the idea of how to overcome the flood situation and the sensitivity of the land, and once you go there, it feels like almost like a very sensitive, very beautiful, untouched property. So I didn't want to statement there with the heavy, like a concrete structure. So then I thought of what is the best solution to have it to make the building lift with the very low budget, because my client is a musician, so he had a very limited budget. So by studying all that thing, scaffolding can be the material that lift the building above 4 feet. So the itself is about 4.5 feet. So if you lift a 6 inches foundation, you are over the flood line. So you can overcome that. So this is the module of the design. So we place a few scaffolding in a row, and then understand the platform, and then gives a height to the building by using the same module, and then had a roof. So this was the idea how to overcome the situation and to make it touch lightly. And the other thing is you can dismantle this building anytime. So this cost is almost like nothing. You can remove it. Only the foundation you can't remove, but you can replace in somewhere else if you really want to do it. So that was the idea. And we want to do a 2-bedroom bungalow that they can go in a weekend. And then I thought of, why not give them a veranda and the balcony that they can use the landscape and enjoy it. So this is the sections, and then you can see all the material. We are trying to use it from the scaffolding material, like a scaffolding decks and some steps, and the scaffolding, and again the timber frame with the board. It's not a plywood board, it's a plaster board. So this is, you can experience, you can see the creek is going around that building, and you can, that's the water, and then this is a flooded area. So it's in a flood situation. These photographs are taken. So that's a river going around the side, and that's the experience that you get in a flood situation. But it can be higher than this. This is a better weather. So that pathway leads to the bedrooms and the bungalow. And this is the dry weather. So, but the experience is different in time to time. And temporarity gives you more like a skeleton building. And only solid part we have is for the washrooms. That gives you anchor to the ground with the septic tank. So it's more like a technical idea. So I wanted to have double the size of the living in the veranda, so then most of the time they spend here rather than in the living space. So it works very well. Most of the time they are gathered around the that area rather than in the living space. And we purposely twist the building to capture the best views and overcome these orientation. And we're trying to get the shades from the west sun from these caput trees, and then the view on the other side framing another mountain range or trees of the neighboring sites. So even you can see the material that we use for the furniture is almost like from the ship, like a container pallets. And some of the furniture we fabricate with the help with another artist. So that's my client with the daughter who's enjoying the weekend there. And we have a small video of that to get a better understanding. I think this gives you a real mood of the space. This is my last project. Thank you. So this is the wellness retreat in Habarana. Habarana is actually more like a center and a very dry area. So close to the heritage site, Anuradhapura, Polanaru and Sigiriya. So the inspiration comes from this kind of architectural language. So the material used of the ruins of the order may be selected based on the ruins of this region, and the architectural language to enhance the support or to make it more connect with the surrounding. So we were trying to understand the context of the property, and this was the original condition. It was a there are a lot of trees, but it's almost like a shrub jungle, and it's a 5-acre property. And next to again beautiful tank, but unfortunately tank is 20 feet higher than the land, so we may not be able to get a glimpse of it. So what we are trying to use is a natural landscape, and again monastic experience that we want to give it as a idea of the design, and as I said, the regional architecture language. And as you can see, there's a river or a canal flowing in that area, from the main road to the side, and it has experience of floods onto this area. So we need to lift the buildings a little bit, but we didn't want to lift the ground at itself. So what we have done is we have created a pathways raised above that ground that allows to enjoy the landscape, as well as it gives you more solution for the issues. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to work with the lift the building and have a journey to save all the trees. So with the trees are all within that pathway. So it almost act like a meditation pathway when your journey is important from start to the end. So at the end you get a like a circular meditation center, or it is performing arts center, or they use as a evening entertainment area. So basically journey start from the main road. So we want to make a very small footprint, and at the same time we want not to be visible from anywhere else. So you can see how the building camouflage within that. So that's a tank beyond that. So you can see the Sigiriya from there, but it's not visible from the site. So that's a journey starts where the bridge connects the road and the land. So we used again leftover timber to clad the steel bridge, so it becomes almost connect with the rest of the detailing. And then we left the area to the rainwater flow through that. That is also became a detail. So then you continue with the elements that is from like a ruins and leave it like a weathered. And we want to leave the landscape as it is, and at the same time we can maintain the pathway very clean, and you can notice any reptiles or any issues. So we keep the pathway very clean and safe, and left the landscape to be alone with the grass. And that's the footprint. We want to make like twins villa and connected for the families, and it's 2-story, and that's how we did look from the farm fields. And that's a journey from the curvier the pathways to the villas, and same detail continues, same materials continues throughout the design, and to enjoy the experience the landscape of the Habarana. So each room has their own courtyard and a wide balcony, and that's a washroom area behind the bed. And then again we are trying to work with a different villa type with a single story, but it's with the same elements. And I wanted to make the building more like a floating above the ground. So that's a link from the meditation pathway or a curvier pathway to the villas. And the villas trying to create water collecting areas and then overlooking the grass area. So basically I'm just trying to enjoy the nature within the very safe environment. And then it comes to the public spaces. We're trying to minimize and use the multiple purpose. If you take that front area, that is like an entry, but then again it's a library and that game area or whatever they can use it. and we'll try to connect with the water. So the two water bodies are like almost rainwater collecting, harvesting ponds, and it connects, bound the two elements together, the restaurant and the reception area. So that shape of the building itself is came to save trees. So the trees are within that line. So we try to turn the building to match the requirement. And then you can see the restaurant area just overhanging with the wide overhanging, just to overcome the rain wall, that you are opening towards the gable wall. So I have extended one more, pillar or a grid towards the water, and then you are safe within that angle of water. And it gives you a very cool and a calm environment when you're having the meal. So sometimes the handrail becomes a seat, and then it's just to prevent them getting water, and then it becomes a part of the layout of the interior of the building. So then it's moving towards the end of the journey. So we newly added this pool, and then the final entertainment or a circular spa area and the end of the journey. So that's the pool area. That's again to enjoy the grass and then give a little bit of luxury as they required. And that's the final journey where they ends here. And from there you can walk up to the tank and come back. I have a small video of this as well, so give you a little bit of a contextual understanding.
you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir. I'm sure most of us are quite inspired by it. I now open the conversation for any questions in the audience if anyone has.
Hello, Palinda. Hi, this is Nitin here. Hi. So it was a mesmerizing presentation. Thanks for this really awakening our senses today evening. I would like to ask that you have been, formally educated into mathematics and then architecture. So it's a very curious combination. So I would like to ask what prompted this transition from a subject which is so theoretical to such an art-oriented subject?
It happens in a different way. I wanted to become an architect from the beginning. So it was my only thing in my life, or my mother always wanted me to become an architect. So from the school, I knew what I'm going to do. But fortunately, I get into the maths degree from the A levels. So that is like a national degree, university. So I didn't want to reject that because I love maths as well. So that's why I'm selected for that. So then I said, okay, I'll do part-time or a different course for the architecture. I'll do maths. So when I start maths, I knew I want to go join architecture. So when I'm in second year in the maths, I'll start architecture. So I did parallelly. So fortunately, actually it was a part-time course, 9 years. So I just explained how it works. 4 years part 1, 3 years part 2, part 3 is 2 years. That is like the exam that everybody has to sit for to become an architect there. So even if you have a degree, you are not architect. So you have to sit the exam conducted by the Institute of Architects in Sri Lanka. So that's a common exam. So you have to work for an architect for 1 year and get all these certificates and then sit for the exam that the theory is all 7 subjects or 8 subjects are there. So the part-time was very interesting because we have to work 4 days in a firm from the day 1. Year 1, first day we have to work. And then 2 days come into the college to learn architecture. And Sundays also again academic, you have to go to site visit and do some measurements and come back. So 3 days and 4 days. But 4 days is really interesting because you are engaged with the architecture properly. So what happened with the interns when you are going, you get only 6 months or 9 months or something. So architect knows that you only comes to learn and go. So they won't give you hard like from the design level to the completion. For projects you have to understand from the start to the end. Then only you know how the design develop. So we had opportunity to work for architect. I have only worked with 3 architects during my 9 years, 3 years and 4 years, and I extend a little bit. So that was really big period to understand and work, and they giving every opportunity to engage with the designs. So going to the site and all that, and then come back and do 2 days. So it's fine, So that's how it happened. So it was not accidentally, but I wanted to become an architect.
That's good.
Thank you. I've heard you before, and every time I'm impressed more and more, and it's so inspiring to see your work.
Thank you.
I wanted to know, how is your design process? How much time do you spend on the design process, and how do you approach the client after you get the brief?
I can say the design process is during the project, whole project. It's never ending. If you see my first design to the last of the Habban, the last project, is totally different. So this is not what I have designed, but the idea is the same. So we continue the journey of finding the pathways. The pathways always defined on the side, and the idea of lifting the building initially had it. Then budget came, reduce it, and we changed the locations of the spa, and a lot of things happened. So the design development never ends in my practice, and client knows it. We never give a drawing set and say you can build it and now I'm finished my things. Not. It's never work in my practice because it's very hard, within a 6 months or 8 months to how you can complete everything because you have other things to do as well. Because if you only focus with that, then you shut everything and focus and do everything, visualize, because we are human. So we need to have time to develop and engage with the work. And when you're going on only, you know that you are not right, you are wrong. So then there are more solution and to develop and change your design. So I criticize my own design always. So I know that I'm not the best and I'm not doing the right thing. So I always feel I'm not right. So then it makes me to change my design. So the clients are actually, I want to thank my clients because they are flexible, but we never break anything. I don't like build and say, no, I don't like it, can you remove it? No. But before build, we are always busy with thinking and these things. So I'll take little more time to confirming things. I can't rest with that time. So even if it's a 1 inch level difference, I want to consider that. So now I'm in that process. Tomorrow I have to confirm 1 level. So I'm here now. I can't do it. I said, please keep it. So I had to confirm the road level and the building. Likewise, so it's not in the drawing. So drawing levels are different. I don't care because I know that I'm engaged more and more. I'll go to site and decide the height. So I know that steps has to calculate accordingly. But we don't do like a total change, but still it develops. So I can say throughout the project I'm designing. So for example, that pool was not there. So it came later. So he wanted me to design a pool, then it was not in a part of the scope. So I said, okay, we added that. So we managed to find a nice place to, have it. So likewise.
How do you convince your clients to be so patient?
They know the outcome, that's why I'm initially worked there because they knew my work and people who are coming to me, it's almost like same people doing it like over and over again. So most of the clients, it's like repeating clients and then they recommended clients. So I don't like getting clients who would just ask, are you an architect? We have a project. I don't take that project. It might consider, but not priority list because I want anyone to say that they like my work, they have seen my thing, they experience my thing, then it's very easy to convince, and they know that in reality how length it takes. I'm not dragging the project by purpose or anything. Sometimes clients' budget is a requirement, so then we have to have a patience. Sometimes that frame building took only 4 months to build. So foundation took 3 months and within 1 month we just did the building and the furniture another 2 months, that's all. So some projects taken more time. Artist retreat took 3.5 years. Habaran took 5 years. He came to me in 2015, 2020 we finished. So but that process is required, you can't do it like so that's why I don't want to waste my time using for a bad, or a not an impressive project, or if I'm not interested, because I have a very limited time for everybody has. So we have to do good project always, otherwise your energy is lost.
True.
So I always want to know whether the project is realistic or not. If the project are not viable or if the budget is not good, I won't undertake because designing is like very much energy. You have to spend so much energy on it. People can't understand how drain our brains and the energy lost. It's really hard.
Yes.
It's like, I know because it's always within our pain, in our back. So I need to do it for save it for a better once and do the right thing. I want to build whatever I think and design.
And how many projects do you handle at one time?
One time, 5-6 projects maybe. Most of the time, every year I might complete 3 projects, but all 3, trying to maintain the same levels. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, sir. In one of your interviews, you said your prime approach towards any project is context and climate. So, is it necessary that project should always be one with the context, or it can be an extra abstract idea, but which that still responds to climate?
So those are the two major components. So you have to address that, and there can be more, more elements that you need to consider. So the climate response is very important in any part of the world. So you can't have a building without understand the context and the climate. So I think those are very basic. So after that, it comes with the requirements and then the budgets and the social responsibility and all that thing. So yes, you need to have that. So I think it's a foundation of any good design. So if you're not respond to the climate, that means that it won't be survive in any condition. So then I don't think it's a good design.
Hi, Palinda.
Hi.
Thank you for a fantastic presentation. You started your presentation with a small power station or something project like that, and from that we moved towards a large resort kind of a project. What I'm curious about is what's your opinion or your design process when you change the scale from a small, very small niche single-use structure to a significantly complex resort project. What's your opinion on architecture and scale with respect to these projects?
Yeah, scale can be based on the budget, but if you see the individual building, it's similar to that language. So I'll respond to the context in a way that it will merge with the landscape and respond to the landscape. But budget-wise, yes, it's very big scale, and then the requirement is little higher than that. But I still playing with the small buildings. I still love to do design for 2-bedroom houses or anything like that. So the scale matters only it comes to high-rise or any other structure that dominate in the context. So in so far, I think I have not handled one project I have designed for a book publisher institute that is like a little monumental building that is not time shown here. But still I'm trying to give some justification to the building why I'm doing it. I might take the challenge to design high-rise. I'm not rejecting, so the opportunity that maybe it has yet to come. So scale is you need to understand with the contextually how it has. It's an urban setup, you need to do it go with the flow and design correctly with the orientation. So I think if you can solve the small thing, then the big things comes as a natural way, and it's better. But I will always give the understanding about the footprint to be very small, and that is a responsibility as an architect not to build unnecessarily. So even the client's requirements are high, I won't give them the same. So because I always want to educate them and to understand their background and what they really want. I don't design unnecessarily just to satisfy the client. So then they might find another architect.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Palinda. Good evening. This is the second time. It's the second time that I have been kind of missing your presentation. Okay. I really thoroughly enjoy that.
I hope it's not boring.
No, of course not. The question is not pertaining particularly to your practice, but it is current Lankan scenario of the architectural practice. The changing paradigm in the social political appeal and the kind of economic paradigm shift that Lanka is going through. Do you see that there is an effect on architectural practice in Lanka that is been going currently?
I think we have to find a solution. I hope it will be overcome the situation, because at the moment it's almost like 3 times than the usual. But still people want to come and ask for a proposal. But now my logic works, build less, less footprint. So now I think I have work. So apart from that, I think we need to find a solution. So because from the beginning I always want to work with the local material and the people from there, because it's very easy and very easy to convince, and people know it's a very low budget project, even though it's not really low, because we have to craft the building in a way that satisfies the client's need. We actually, that happened in the Jeffrey Bawa's time. If you know the story, that half round tile and the old antique doors started because of the restriction that government brought up that time, say no import stuff, so like aluminium or anything. So he went back again to find the solution for covering tile with asbestos, and under that as a solution. And then he used the antique doors and windows, so to colored it. So he brought different elements. Everybody thought that is a new style of architecture, but it's for reason he got everything locally made terracotta tiles as a fashionable thing. So likewise, we need to find a different alternative. We may not be able to use the antique doors and windows. Those are not anymore, because everybody trying to use it after Jeffrey Bawa. Yeah. So now it's gone, nothing available. So, but still, there's an opportunity that we can, find a material, like reclaim things, how to use the waste material into product, or best thing is to build less, only for the requirement for the family, not for the outsiders, or not to show off things. So in that way, we can find a more better answers to overcome the situation and to support the society and the situation for the country. As architect, we have a part of this thing. So we always, and again, a different model of construction as well, because we are comfortable with working with one contractor with after a tender documents. Now I'm saying no, we'll get a one supervisor and with the local boss and the craft people under one person. So it becomes a norm as same as the contractor base, So then it's saving 20-30% from the main client. So that means that we have to model a different way. So I'm start doing it. Initially, I never want to do it. Initial stages, I did like that. Then again, we want to work with it comfortably and with the details that the contractor can follow our drawings. But now the model is changed. Now I said, okay, let's hire a technical supervisor to the site and pay him full, like for a 1 year or 1.5 years, and get a labor. And he supervise everything and do it. It's fine. It works. And we know craft people, and then the specialized works come later with the cement flooring and other plasters. So those are anyway specialized workers. So those are anyway, if the contract will nominate them as a subcontractors or something. So change the tune, that's all.
So same. In the modern times, regional contextual way of approaching design is the calling of the time?
I couldn't get you.
In the modern times,
yeah.
You think the regional way, what Bawa was kind of practicing, is the calling of the time as of present day context?
I think
the
so.
Shift in the paradigm.
But anyway, I always think the time has to change with the architecture. Will always change. I never keep anything like a constant static, because Baba, even a good example. From the start, he has finished with the tile roof of the Ina Disulla house, and then the Kandalama, totally concrete and aluminium, and then they end up with the pavilion with the lean roof in a cliff. So that journey is more than enough to you understand how the building has to evolve with the time, and you have to enjoy the new things coming and reflect the society, not rejecting anything coming or not enjoying everything. So I always believe that's the way to go it. Otherwise, they all feel you know the best and you answer the right thing for throughout your life. It's wrong.
Thank you.
Hi. Ask them. Yes.
I think always your work is a source of inspiration to all my friends, my colleague architects, and especially to all my students. I just want to put a very simple question. There are two questions which I really like going to your mesmerizing work. There is one very fine line of rating soul in architecture. Like there are many designers who touched a level, but they couldn't achieve what you have achieved.
Yeah.
So this is one very fine line. Okay, that's my first question. So is there any rule subject to like the kind of hard work what you're doing on your project with the pre-facia of understanding your client, and then finally you're delivering that? So first we want to know, is there that, how to reach to that line? That's the first question. And second, especially when the institute is very young, like this, as a teachers, what is our duty to teach the student where they can really achieve such kind of architecture? That's very important to teachers also.
Yeah.
So how do you take it?
I think the second question, you have already given a nice foundation for the students. I have to thank you all because I've seen that with the design that they have come up with. It's not a typical kind of transferring your knowledge to them to do something, because that's what happened. When you have a strong teachers, then they force them to do the way they do. So, but I feel there are a lot of approach in a different solution, and leave the flexibility to get that thing, and trying to get more and more opinion or critics, senior architects especially, because I love to learn from seniors, because they know something very experienced architecture, because the beauty is not only the pictorial thing, it comes with the practicality. So I want them to understand the very harsh way, or a very, architecture, education is not very, always nice, and always you shouldn't get praised. So always need to get criticized, always need to find what's wrong with your architecture from a senior people. So I really want you to have more senior staff here rather than young architects, because young architects are good, but their academic teaching levels is totally different, because they just passed out. I'm not saying, but if you need my opinion, get more senior people. Maybe they don't have a better practice like this, but still they have a knowledge. They have things to transfer. They want to give back to the society. So please call senior architects. I always respect that, and ask them to sit for each and everyone's examination for the jury. They can learn from everyone, because I learn from the others. I listen to all their tricks. I always sit behind the desk and listen to my other colleagues works, and what they have done more than me, and how they have achieved that, and what they are getting as a result. Because most of the students want to leave the place immediately as soon as they finish their crit. So that means that they know only themselves. Should learn from the others, listen to the others, engage more with the 40 students. Idea means quite a knowledge that you gain. That's enough. So open their minds, and not only the marks, so leave it.
An answer to my first question.
First question is okay. I think you're asking the experience and the soul. So I think I'm trying to absorb that within me by looking at experience things and good architecture. So then it naturally comes to my work as well. So if you have not touched that soul with the other works or a master's work, then you can't give that back. So you have to be humble, and you have to be honest with the architecture. Do what you are right fully. We are not doing a business. We have a duty as society. It's not money, so you can't go behind the money. So I always connect with the clients and feel like a part of it. It's my own thing. So I'm designing like my own thing. So I don't feel like when I'm designing for myself, not have any pressure or anything, because it's the same. So if I'm not getting that kind of a quality, I won't deliver it to my client. So that is the experience that. So it's everything is for me. So they are paying for the bill for that.
Thank you so much.
I'm really happy to know you for the third time.
Oh really? Oh, thanks for coming.
But amazingly, you have a different story to be told every
Okay.
time. So, I was just wondering that your architecture is more about almost emerging from the habitat, and it celebrates landscape a lot. It's inclusive of all the natural forces. But I always wonder, how does it coexist with the wildlife? So any confronts on that, in case you have any experiences?
Like how you are designing in the wildlife, and yeah, that situation comes in only one project is connected with the wildlife thing. So that's what I'm trying to leave that space, design and nature kind of a thing. So we need to have the gap to respect them, not to have a conflict over the situation and inviting them into it and then say they are inside our place. It's not our place. So we have to respect that. So that pathway is the best example. So initially client was worried that it gets snakes and all that thing. So far, touch wood, there's no incidents because they have their place, so they don't come out, and even they come out, we know that distance, so likewise we can safeguard our place. So when you're designing next to nature, we have a responsibility that we are strangers and we have to be respect what is there, and it has to consider as a part of the landscape. So I don't design only just a building, so I consider the total landscape and then how it is fit in with the landscape, because I always think that as an architect we have a duty that not to ruin the not to disturb the view of the other persons. It's not belongs to us only, because somebody from the neighboring site looking at us, if it disturbs, that is not a right thing to do in that kind of context. So I always consider what you see from the outside, not the shapes or elevation. I never design elevations, but consider that as a fact, that responsibility as an architect, that not to ruin the landscape what it was there without the building how it was, and again introduce the building and we were saying hooray it was beautiful. No, so we have to understand, and building can to be merged with it and sensitively, then it's fine. Okay.
We can take only one or two more questions from the fraternity, then we'll go on to one or two questions from the students.
Can you, yeah. Can I ask a question? Yeah. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. I just want to know that you will talk about experience, which is the most important point. I feel that all senses and emotions plays a great part than physicality. Can you explain how you conceive that, because that is very difficult, which is intangible in that way. Can you please elaborate how you go for that?
It's a very hard question. Again, come in there.
So we are searching for the song.
It comes naturally. I don't know whether how I'm taking it and how I experience it. I don't know. Sorry, I may not have an answer for that. But it comes with the experience and the time and maturity. Then it's growing with that. So it needs some age, gray hair, and I think you have.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, thank you for coming to our city and inspiring us. Since I was a student, I'm listening to you. So it's the third time I'm looking at your presentation. And it was very inspiring, all this. The way you were actually discussing with the students, the way you were giving them insights, I wanted to ask you what is your opinion on practicing architect involving into the academics and vice versa? Is there a relevance in the practice also? And how the practice can actually help making the academics, because you have gone through so much of education, greater than what we are having in India. So I just wanted to know, because there are so many young architects and other practices who are involved in academics. So we just wanted to know the insights, whether how relevant and how is there any impact in both the ways?
So academic things is very important, and again you can do it the both ways if you are good at it. There's no any wrong with it. So only I am not involving it. Permanent academic is like I have to travel, I have to come here, so I have not able to do it, because if I'm taking it I have to do it fully, then I have to cancel a lot of travels and presentations. So but apart from that, I'll always go and support my any school there and involved with the juries and crits and panels and all that thing. So how to balance it is like, so it can be like if you are a part of immediately pass out student, then you can involve with supporting role. So then you can learn that art of how to teach the student, not a major part or anything. So I think I always saying that architectural practice is also has to be established in a way. It's not the practice has to come later in a way that you can start your designing project, and then the office has to open later. Office shouldn't be in front first time, and then you have to find the jobs. It's not working because people are making mistakes with the commitment, and then you don't have a choice. You have to take the projects to just sustain yourself, and that is not good. So I think if you can balance the both, it's really good. But even you can be academics and then you go to the practice and you can come back with the experience, then it's really good, because it benefits the students when you have both experience. Because to teach them also you need to have a foundation of how the practicing. So I really agreed with that. So it's your talent and how you can handle your time is that. So if you can achieve both, it's great. But take your time to learn, and if you're just passed out, I feel you have to be a supportive role for the main system and be involved with that. It's a really good. And then at the by time you can involve with your work to start practicing, and then you don't have a burden, because you can say you are in connect with the school and you don't have a where's the project, no pressure at all. So do secret 1 or 2 projects, make it a beautiful ones, so it becomes a start for your practice. And then when you're well off with your work, then you can say, okay, we'll retire from here and come back again after a few years. So that may be the answer. So you do the both things, it's good. As architects, we always has a duty to give something back to the society. So that's why we spend so much time and parents' money, and why not?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Only one last one-line question. What is your one advice, one message for the students who are just going to graduate? What is it that one advice, one line that they can carry with them?
Be humble.